I'm guessing everybody's either having their coffee at the side or listening in with some. It's 4:30 in Europe, so I'm guessing some people have all started with the beers already, and then in the
Yeah,
US they're starting with their first coffee. So, and in India, I think
it's
this is
true.
post the round dinner.
Yeah,
So I'm
yeah.
guessing we've covered all meals except maybe there's somebody
Oh,
watching on
me.
lunch. I don't know.
Yeah, well, it's 10:30 on East Coast time, right? So anybody eating at lunch is probably somewhere in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. But yeah, it's 10:30. Hopefully, time for a second cup of coffee, which
Yeah.
I forgot to bring. So I am coffeeless at the spot. But hopefully, you guys will provide. There's Brian, which is 7:30 in the morning for him there on the Pacific West Coast. Yeah.
Hi. Sorry, my
Hi.
Zoom app wasn't working.
Oh, we were okay. Technical difficulties have been solved.
Yes, sir. We're here.
Yes.
Good,
Okay.
good morning, everybody.
Um, Good morning. Yeah.
Brian, good
Nice to see you. Pragya, you tell us when to begin. Did you get? Yeah.
I
Did you
think we
give?
should begin now. I think we should
Okay.
because people are flowing in still, but we can start.
We can start. Okay. All right. You're the boss. Nice to meet all of you. Today we're going to talk about utility managing, asset managers managing utility solar and where sort of the hidden revenue gaps are and how do you, really manage both the asset performance as well as the contract obligations. And moving on from here, okay, we're having technical difficulties this morning. One second. Okay. Yeah. And with me here today, we have Brian Villano with Contract Power and Kanaya Monga at Quadrical and also Pragya Chavla. So if you have any questions, any technical problems, all of that, Pragya is the person, and you can send them in via the QA tab and take it from there. And what I want to talk about is, we'll do sort of introduce ourselves to who we are later on, and let's just jump right in first. And really, what we want to talk about is the sort of the an asset manager's job is pretty funny, right? And which is why we're doing this. I guess, Brian, are you a baseball fan, Brian?
I guess you could call me a Cubs fan, but I
Okay.
don't follow closely. Yeah.
Well, the whole double header thing, right? So we kind of think of this as a double header. We're talking about, and an asset manager's job is sort of like, a double header in the sense that on one side they have to manage coordination with the O&M teams, performance, all the alerts and everything that's happening. And at the other side, they're managing, all the 1,000-page contracts and obligations and everything else that they have. And so we're really hoping today that we can actually, focus on all of, both of those things together, separately but together, and we can go through that, right? And hopefully this means that we are showing asset managers how to more effectively do their jobs. And really, to do this well, I really have two of my favorite gentlemen in the business, right, that I know, and they both sort of educate me, make me laugh, and challenging me, equally, which is great because they're the most, there's not two better people for me to hang out with. So from here on side, I am going to hand this over to Kanaya, who's going to really talk about asset management as it from the performance side. Kanaya has a ton of deep experience in this arena. He was at Power Factors for many years. Before that, he was at Konigsberg. He has been in asset management himself for a very large IPP and really understands this piece of the business. So I'm going to hand it off to Kanaya here, and then from there we'll go on to how obligations that often start here end up here, and how do you sort of link them all together. Over to you, Ganaya.
Perfect. Thanks, Katie. Let's just keeping on the slide. It's pretty interesting. Like it does feel like the disconnected world when you talk to an asset manager right now, right? Because the tools that you have for pre-commissioning are not the tools you use for post-commissioning. And then also the way it's handed off is pretty it's not smooth, and there is no kind of tool submission. It's not within a tool. It's almost like, hey, I have all of my information in this project management tool, and hey, now I want to go into an asset performance management tool. How do we kind of hand that off from time series to non-time series, and managing all that kind of a data? But then, just a quick background. Been in the renewable industry for a decade, built offshore asset performance management tools, worked with the largest IPPs around the globe, and I think it's a very interesting and challenging problem to solve when it comes to asset performance management, because it's the problems are never small, and the problems are always to kind of find ways to manage things better. And one thing that always comes to mind is the fact, how do you manage those assets? What's the best way? And most importantly, what are you missing? Like, are there any hidden costs that you kind of are not able to, what is not visible to a naked eye? How do you kind of actually find them and be able to tackle them? So on that note, I'll just kind of quickly talk about what we in Quadrical do from the asset performance management piece. And I'll just take over the screen a bit, and then we start from there.
I will stop sharing, and I'll let
yes.
you
Yep.
let you share. But to me, it seems like asset managers are master jugglers, right? Because they're
but that's
I can't even imagine.
I always thought, what designation should it be? Because there's like so much. You could be like just problem solvers, and then because that's what they're doing on a day-to-day basis as well. What's interesting as well is the fact from the topic that we have today, which is the gaps and the hidden costs that an asset performance manager or the IPPs are interested in. How do they actually translate, and how do you find the dollar value of it, and what is actually important to find and to actually assign a dollar value? Because you don't want to assign a dollar value for a 1 second event. That doesn't make sense. You also want to have ways to kind of go into rules, tickets, understanding what's actually measurable and why. So just on that's a very broad subject I've just kind of put across. But then what I wanted to quickly is like run across some scenarios that I see fit for this topic, and then we kind of go from there. So what I have in front of me is our current asset performance management tool. And then, so the asset performance management tool, as we see, is basically you kind of have the list of your assets, what's running, what's not. And it's also like from the solar perspective, the insulation, the performance ratios, the energy performance index. But as somebody who's seen firsthand how tricky it gets when you're finding degradation, when you're finding faults, system-generated faults or rule-generated faults, inverter faults are pretty much, I would say, easy to find. Given the product that we have, at least what we are offering, it feels to us that it's easy enough. But from a perspective of what is hidden, which is the degradation, and how do you kind of capture that? So there are some examples that I've kind of placed on today for our webinar. One would be this would be an example for a performance analyst, right, who's measuring string-based degradation. What we do in Quadrical, we actually have ways and engines or rule engines that allow you to find degradation. I would say pretty easily, because we run something called as the digital twin, and we have two models which actually take over that. One is the statistical and a peer-to-peer comparison, which we call the structural model. And then the other is the temporal model, which is based on your data, historic data, and then it runs real time to kind of give you an example, or kind of helps you create events of basically be like, if there are any degradations and so on and so forth. The example and what you see in front of you right now is an example of a structural string degradation event, which has not caused a degradation fault, because the delta between them is between the actual and the statistical peer-to-peer not greater than 5%. it is less than 5, hence this event was not generated. But then here you could also see like different ways or different examples where you could run this and then see if it had created any event or not. But then at this moment, for the two inverters that we have and the strings that we have selected, we have not kind of created any of these any of the degradation events. But on the other hand, what is interesting and going towards the ticketing where we have a string degradation which was actually captured, but we actually show that there is a dollar value assigned. So just to kind of take a little backseat, everybody believes that tickets is where a lot of time is spent for asset performance management engineers, right? But then it's very important for them to kind of be able to find what are the most critical errors that they have to focus on, because everything at the moment, because as they're juggling through so much, it becomes really hard for them to kind of even also prioritize which one should they focus on the most. Of course, the dollar value assigned gives them a good perspective of that. Hence the topic of like hidden gaps and on the dollar value, right? It is interesting that how much
it's true, right? If everything is important, nothing is important, right? So
exactly. So if
the dollar value is what they're being judged on, and everything is it makes it really clear what is most important. Deal with that, because that's what's going to kill you.
One of the topics that at least I have faced as when I was an asset performance engineer has been when we do the month end reports and we do the budget versus the actual, and then we're not able to quantify why was this loss this value, or where are our losses kind of defined right now. But it becomes easier with the product that we have with Quadrical, that it's easier to see the dollar value assigned to each fault. And it's also something that's configurable. It's easy because you kind of find the kilowatt hour, and then it's simply based on your PPA and then what could be that value. But interestingly, the filters definitely do help us, but it also kind of gives us a big boost of like what different types of issue types am I focusing on. Like if the string degradation is my biggest, is the string false my biggest issue, then I focus on that. Is it the string degradation? What has caused? So it's easy to also kind of cluster them and focus them. I want to take an example of a string degradation event which occurred and which has a dollar value defined of $26. And I just wanted to kind of go into why was this. So this is the whole period of the degradation. And when you look at it, it kind of feels like, okay, it does, and to the naked eye, it doesn't feel like there is a lot of deviation. But if you zoom in a bit, you can actually see that this value is actually the degradation between the actual to the structural digital twin is more than 5%. And hence, it was right to kind of create an event. So it did create the degradation events. So you can see on top of that and when it created. But if I just not overlay them at the moment, you can easily see the degradation events and so on and so forth. What is also interesting from here is the fact that you're not quantifying what should not be measured. So you're not measuring noise or basically 1 second or events which don't have that threshold parameter. You're only measuring where it actually makes sense and actually has a loss associated to it. So this is a very good example of how, because string degradation is a very big topic of quantifying losses. It becomes really hard for asset managers and even performance engineers to be able to understand what needs to be measured, because sometimes it's also what I've seen in experiences that like sometimes people want to know how many string events were generated, but then it could be in a million. But then how many were actually quantifiable, how many that actually lead to the loss would be less than 10%. So that is a scale we're looking at. So imagine the amount of work with the help of this dollar, showing the dollar value does, because you're now almost ignoring the 90% and then just focusing on that 10 and going deeper into why that happened and how can you kind of rectify. And of course, the bigger topic as well, because this is based on the time series data, it's something that you can also see from a non-time series, like a contractual data. Okay, what does the actual contract say, and so on and so forth. Before just handing off to Brian on that topic, because I feel that gives the connective tissue there. an example of similar in the events, if we have like a inverter down event, right? Currently I'd selected this. If I remove all of this and I do inverter fault. So you also see like an inverter fault event, and then you're able to kind of easily quantify that, but also see why that had happened, or like where did it happen. What's also interesting in my mind, because if you see an inverter fault, you would also feel, did it happen somewhere else? Did it actually run across the rest of the plan? So it's easy navigation to kind of view the rule, so you actually see what actually caused it. So it's like, it's not a black box. We're not kind of doing some kind of magic in the back end. It is pretty easy scripting JSON, which we can kind of also help you build your own or bring your own into the product and then use it as you like. But then it's so straightforward that you can easily see the parameter that it's been running. So it shares the data threshold, the event threshold, the run frequency, and what signals it's actually using to kind of create that value. Just going back, what I also wanted to show was here the view analytics, which basically takes you into our analytics tool, where I had shown you the degradation event, which didn't occur. You can easily see that actually this is where the fault occurs, right? The inverter completely goes down. But then if you want to see, did it actually affect any other inverters? You can see what's happening on the remaining, right? The other inverters continue to run, but then the inverter 6 goes down to 0. So this is also a good way to kind of see it was actually a fault, and it was actually something that happened, and it didn't affect the rest of the inverters as well. So this becomes more easy for an asset manager to narrow the scope of the actual action that they want to take. What's interesting is eventually you want this to be kind of walked in or worked through the product. So you can actually see that what fault code, the status is currently closed, so it was done, but then you could add different information like who did it, when they did it. So it kind of becomes like an end-to-end summary of that. And then you can also see what different documents it has and so on. But then on the document side, we definitely want to go into see what that value, what that contract actually says when Brian kind of demos that. But overall, as leaving with you the thought of basically, this is the part of asset performance management that as engineers, we love these things because we want it to be more precise. It helps us know what we want to look at. On other things as well, we definitely do the GADS reporting as well. So it's pretty simple. So GADS is something that we offer to all our customers, basically, and most of our customers are using in-house GADS reporting. So it's much easier for you to run it and then submit through what we kind of output from the product. It is as it's based. It's as it's based quarterly, and I'm guessing it kind of integrates really well.
Yeah, it's super easy, right? I can tell you this on because it's the NERC reporting guidelines are built right into the platform. It's literally Thursday night. You download them from here, Friday morning when they're due on the May 15th. That's the deadline. You upload them into the into the NERC sites, right? And you're done with your compliance. It's that simple. It's a few hours because it's already woven in, right? Right. And I just wanted, if it wasn't clear earlier, wanted to make clear that all of those tickets and stuff that Kanaya showed are all fully automated, right? These are not, you don't go looking for these. This is what comes to you, and you can, go through them and look through to see where they fit. And if there's an event that actually has resolved itself, right? Shading, whatever, it'll automatically close the ticket by itself as well. And all the details, as Kanaya showed you, are all available as well, right? But we want to be handing it off to Pragya, staying on time, handing it off to Kanaya, back to you to hand off to Brian.
Yes, just on the last thing, I just wanted to, as Kitty just mentioned at the end, right? The events and the tickets created are basically yours. So you have a rule manager. We have like a rule manager that you can create, like that we have where we feel what we should have for you to kind of measure. But then, of course, you can create your own on top of that. So it becomes much more easy for you to manage your assets the best way because you know your assets best. We come in as a tool or a partner which helps you manage your assets better. I would hand that back to Brian now.
Brian, before you start off, Kenny, I would like to share the poll results. The poll was, how quickly can you detect your solar plant performance issues today? So, 67% of our audience says mostly reactive. That means they are still on manual monitoring. I would really request all these 67% people, please connect with us. You would love the demo, and your life will become hell lot easier after you see the
You'll
demo.
have more time to do more other things, I would say, rather than looking at the manually. So that if you want to save
Yeah.
time and do more things and
Also,
find some more time on calendar, that please do get in touch.
yeah, and also a lot of revenue, because when you are seeing things reactively, the time is already passed. You've already lost the revenue. So, we can really help there. So you have our email addresses at the end. Just reach out to us, and you can also drop your questions in the Q&A tab. It's open for question and answers. I will be taking them up as the speakers end. Over to you, Brian.
Thank you, Pragya. And I will say that was a really cool demo because having the ability for the system to notify you of your faults proactively, that's really cool. And my background, I'm a former asset manager with EDF and with Clearway. And a lot of times we wouldn't know that an inverter was down for a really long, embarrassingly long time. And, to have that feature alone would be worth it. I think it's awesome that you guys have that. Very cool. Nicely done, guys. I'd never seen that before. So, my name is Brian Villano, and I am CEO of Contract Power. Contract Power helps IPPs understand their contracts. I'd say Contract Power is especially good at compliance item identification and tracking. But just in a nutshell, we are an AI-powered contract management platform that surfaces risks, automatically tracks compliance items, and sends reminders, and also has a chatbot function as well as many other functions that we're going to go over in this demo. So I'm going to share my screen right now. Can you all see that? All right. So the entry point into Contract Power and how we work with Quadrical is here in the File Manager. You'll note that the File Manager distinguishes itself by having project, portfolio, and client designations. So projects, we're all familiar with what a project is. In this case, in Contract Power, a project is a collection of contracts that relate to that contract, to that project. We also have portfolio designations to run analysis on a full portfolio, and client designations are for our third-party asset managers like CAMS and Radian Generation. They also use the platform in their business. But clients like EDF, like Catalyze, and Intersect, they all use Contract Power to help them with this process. Because I know when I was an asset manager, when I received a project on the daily cadence of what's important versus what's urgent, the urgent stuff always, you're dealing with literal turbine fires, you're dealing with cash shortfalls, you're dealing with things that are really important. The playbook for an energy project is the contract, but oftentimes reading the contracts they fall secondary. Reading them page to page, oftentimes you have to reference them, but it's the details that really matter. And that's why I started Contract Power, is to get into the details and to have these quick reference points. So the project designations are really important when it comes to compliance item tracking and identification. So this is a tool called ClauseSense. ClauseSense, what it does is has a special search algorithm. You could use ChatGPT or Claude to try to identify compliance items. There's two problems in doing that. The first problem is um, essentially your prompt. Your prompt is not consistent and it's not thorough enough. To have the ability to specifically identify what a compliance item is, like if I were to ask anyone on this call, what is a compliance item? I'll probably get 5 different answers. And that's because all of them are right. And you have to have this inclusive perspective when trying to identify compliance items, because if you miss even one compliance item, it could be a big problem. And so we have this process nailed down, Pat, where the ClauseSense tool looks at each paragraph of information as opposed to the whole document. I just had someone from an IPP tell me that they tried to use Claude to identify compliance items on a financing document that was 400 pages long, and they got 18 compliance items that were identified out of a 400-page document. And that is not realistic. You need to have a thorough perspective of what is in your document, and that's why a special search algorithm is required. So that's the second differentiator of Contract Power's ClauseSense tool, where you could see that we have special filters by show items likely worth tracking, or even look at low likelihood items. But here we're looking at high likelihood items. There's 41 entries in this PPA. And if you were to find items like these quarterly financial statements that we want to track, you could see that the tool identifies where it's coming from, and then we could send it to the tracker. But here's how it differentiates itself, whereas the action is required to provide financial statements, and then it provides the term definitions included. Because if you were to look at a tracker, like in my experiences, the asset manager before me, one, maybe didn't do so good of a job as they could have, but two, they probably just copy and paste their compliance items from the contract in legal language and put it into the contract, or put them into the tracker. And what this does is it easily provides financial information that's consolidated and provides the term definitions. When you send it to the tracker, it gets rolled up by project, portfolio, and owner and assignee. So you can have more than one owner of the compliance item itself, where maybe you have an associate, or maybe you have a co-worker who's also assigned to the project. And then there's temporal designations as well. So you could say, I want this week, this month, this year. And then we can sort in this compliance executive dashboard by only overdue risks, or severe risks. The way that we sort our compliance items, this is a compliance item, that's the topic. And if you look at the specific compliance item task itself, these are the time-bound items. This is overdue, and we can close it out, where now you have a missed compliance item where you can attach your documents to the missed compliance item and close it out, and then track it and run diagnostics on it. That is a huge differentiator for Contract Power. That process for ClauseSense, the obligation tracker, sending it directly from the contract into the tracker, is a huge differentiator for us. Another one is our product called FleetSense. FleetSense, what it does is it helps you visualize your contracts by portfolio, by project, and by contract. And now we're looking at a project level summarization with direct links to the contract, where you can see where it's included. And also, we have topic level filters to help you understand what are the financial aspects of this lease, for example. If we were to move up to the project level association of this, now we get a full project summary that includes your credit agreement, your lease agreements, and maybe another credit agreement in this case. And it fills out a DNV style summary where you could call it a confidential information memorandum, and you can hand that off to your team. Say you're a new asset manager on a project, or you're trying to understand a project but forgot particular aspects of it. This is a great way to dive into the material. The last two tools that I want to show you are our chatbot. We were talking about performance obligations because we had this disparity between potential power and actual power in Kanaya's presentation. And now we want to learn about our performance obligations. And you could go through, click through where we're located in the contract to get a good sense of where the information is rooted from and being collected for this synthesis. Of course, if anyone also has a focus on business practice manuals for independent system operators, we also have these this folder, what we call Power Reg, that tracks all 9 ISOs, including Canada, Kitty. And
Very important. That's because the ISOs all run through North America, not just the US.
Yeah, that's right. And so you can see we have AESO here, and we track all these and update them on a quarterly basis. So then you can correlate your contracts with your regulations and find out what you're obligated to perform. Last
You're kind of
on the
going beyond just your individual obligations that you have, but also you're already pulling in the ISO stuff. That's kind of cool.
Yes,
Sorry.
yeah. The commercial asset managers may not find it as important, but those in utility they definitely love that feature.
Right.
And then last thing on our list is the summary tool. The summary tool is essentially a prompting tool that allows you to save your prompts in what we call an agent. And you can run those prompts if you have like repetitive tasks that you do over and over again, like NDA review, or you're doing project acquisitions. The consistency of the types of questions that you evaluate your project acquisitions with are important. And the summary tool helps your team identify those risks in a structured and formulated way. But we had this this example of performance guarantees where I ran this on this PPA called Arbor Solar. It's a fictional project that we created. And here we have multiple questions where we see the guarantee presence and scope. Here's how you calculate it. Here's how it's measured. What are the production benchmarks, and what are the risks associated with that? That is in our prompt library, where in the PPA you can see that we have multiple agents, collections of questions associated and crafted specifically for those in the asset world to try to get a good idea of what's going on. Of course, we don't just focus on PPAs, we focus on O&M, tax equity, interconnection, LGIA, site control, and so on. So these are already created prompts that you can deploy in a structured manner, and you can also create your own. I'd say that's a good synopsis of Contract Power. And Kitty, we're working hand in hand every day and developing use cases for how we can make Quadrical a platform that is fluid between your contracts and your data to create that experience that Kanaya was talking about. And we're really excited to be working with you. So, and have appreciated your friendship from the time that we started to integrate. So, thanks so much.
Just as Kitty, you're pulling that up, I'm just want to say, like, Brian, this is something like which makes sense as an asset performance manager, but also for your legal team, for your compliance team, for your finance team to basically have a view of, hey, what's actually there in the contract. Like it's not a black box anymore. You actually can see, like when an asset performance engineers or the report at the end of the month says, hey, this is the loss. You actually can then look at, okay, what does that contractually mean from a guarantee or a penalty or from like a PPA perspective, for the grid? Like, okay, did you produce how much you were planning to do, or are there any liabilities? But also from the OEM perspective, right? Like if you have equipment and so on and so forth, how does that work for guarantees and so on and so forth? So I think it works really, really well. And as we said, it's hand in hand, and it's the perfect screen
Yeah.
on and that Kitty has right now.
The hand in hand, and the same way that Brian was talking about bringing in the ISO data and stuff, the regulations that affect you, our team automatically ingests all your OEM data, right? So that we can, we know with the inverters that you have exactly what the issues are, and can be able to track the faults, right? And particularly for storage, we're doing a lot of cool stuff in that arena, right? Which, by the way, that tags us off to next month. But want to just sort of introduce before who Brian is, what he does, and then we'll skip over to what Quadrical does, and open up for questions.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
Sorry,
sorry, is it
Pragya.
my turn?
Oh,
yeah,
Pragya wants
Brian.
to jump in with the poll.
The poll results, if I don't know if you can see on your screen right now. So, Brian, this one was for you. I asked the audience, where does your contract knowledge lives currently? So, we have a split vote on this one, and 43% say it sits on spreadsheets and shared drives. I think these 43% are your audience. They would really want to see more of contract power. And then 14% say it's on emails and reminders, and 43% have a central system that is tracked and assigned. So, yeah, that's that about contract power. Now over to you, Brian.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've kind of covered what contract power is, but the aspects of security and privacy are important to address when you talk about AI products. Contract Power is a SOC 2 Type 2 compliant platform. That means that we had a 3-month security audit by a third-party firm that has looked at all of our security protocols. We get that on an annual basis. And then we talk about privacy. When you talk about AI, you have to talk about privacy because there's platforms out there that train on your data. We do not train on your data. No enterprise firm actually, I run across one firm that said, please train on our data, but that was unusual. And we'd be happy to do it. But most platforms don't want us to do that, and so as a policy, we don't do it. Um, and I think those are two. That's two important aspects to discuss. And of course, we've been working hand in hand with a lot of IPPs in the past, and my sole mission is to help from this operational perspective. And soon we're going to be branching into the development world as well in construction. So anyway, thanks so much, Craig. I appreciate it. Back over to you.
Yeah. And who we are, we've been around for 6 years. We're just outside. I like to say this. Brian is in sunny San Diego, California, but we are in the northern climates, just outside of Toronto, in Waterloo, in our offices somewhere around there in the woods. You can't quite see it. And also co-located in Gurgaon, just outside of Delhi, India. We've been working, we're working on projects all the way from, Maui to Australia, about 7,500 megawatts. I think it's going up, every time these get updated. And we've passed for storage. We've passed 8,000 megawatt hours from California to Japan to Taiwan, Australia, even, right? We've got a lot of storage on. We also have a lot of commercial and industrial customers where we're now over 600 megawatts and located in a lot. There's and wind as well. And we have, 6 years of sort of testimonials and partnerships as well, including the partnership with Brian here, and continue to, be in for the long haul, and partly because I can say that we're working with 4 different Brookfield platforms as well as Canadian Solar, which means that we really are. When we work with somebody, they refer us to people they know. That's usually what we can say about ourselves, right? That we come in with warm referrals of people who've worked with us, have lots of great things to say about us, right? That we are true partners. From there, we'll open it up to questions. Pragya, you ready?
Yeah, a lot of questions have been answered already live by Kanaya. I have one question for Brian. Brian, this one is directed at you. If we share our contracts with you, is the data safety guaranteed?
Yeah, that's the point of our penetration testing and our SOC 2 protocols. We take safety and security very seriously from the beginning. And I noticed that when I started Contract Power 3 years ago, that was the first thing I said to my co-founder. I was like, Thomas, this needs to be the number one focus is the
Yeah,
security
because
aspect of Contract Power.
Yeah, because the contracts are real, the data is the real gold mine these days. If that's not protected, it's a real danger. Okay, so another question was for Quadrical. How many plants can the Quadrical platform handle together? Can I answer it well? We offer our product to CNI customers and multiple large-scale utility-scale solar customers all at once. So we are built for scale. You can rest tension-free. We can handle even 200, 500, 1,000 plants
Yeah,
all
Pragya,
together.
let me,
Yeah,
can I add a little more to that?
yeah,
So the funny thing
sure.
is, I guess what I didn't, when we were introducing our company, what I forgot to say was that the company was founded by Sharat Singh and Hugh Hind, who have like decades of experience building enterprise grade, large scale products, right? And our team, has 20 years of experience actually doing, building those platforms that it can handle. I asked, that was a question I asked our team as well, right? That if, how many can we handle? Can we handle like, 50 gigawatts, 100 gigawatts, 1,000 gigawatts? And the answer it always comes back as yes. Don't worry about it, right? I mean, this is what we are equipped to do. This is what we've trained to do. This is what we've done for 20 plus years, right? So, yeah, we can handle a lot of plants. Back to you, Pragya.
Cool. So the next question was, is Quadrical platform available only to utility scale? So no, we are available to both utility solar projects and CNI projects as well. We also offer a storage solution, as Kanai already mentioned, and Kiri.
Yeah, and wind. So
Yeah.
storage and wind. And just to say that, in terms of what we're working on next is the advan the team is busy building algorithms for round the clock power, which is going to be huge, right? We've got a couple of customers that we're working with on that. And so they're going to help you decide, when to run wind, when to run solar, when to store, when to release, when to honor your PPAs, when to send for trading because the profits there are much greater, right? So we are exactly working on, we're also, thinking very, much ahead.
Okay, so the last question we had was, can we customize KPIs? As Kanaya answered, yes, KPIs are customizable. Also, I would like to add, we already have so many KPIs. I think we have already covered most of the KPIs the solar industry may think of, because we have really intelligent data scientists that are sitting right in the office. So they are constantly trying for the new KPIs. But yes, if
But
you have,
that's a
yeah.
what's always interesting. You cannot always have enough KPIs.
Yes, that's so true.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
so
that's
every
so true.
KPI has to, because it's like almost each organization has their own KPI as well. So it's like, can we do this instead of this? And then we're like, and then
Yeah.
yes, we can.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yes, we
And
can.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
everything
it's
is.
very configurable, right? And
yes,
and really I can reiterate here, no black boxes, right? Your KPIs, your rules that we used, your measurements that we use, everything is available right on the platform. We aim to be, completely transparent, right, about pretty well everything.
Because we're constantly because the builders of the platform, the architects are constantly sitting in the office right there. If you have a new query, if you have something new to add, if you want a new customizations, it's always on the table. We can always discuss because this is not something that has been downloaded from the internet. We have built it from scratch, so we can
But
Yeah.
always,
it's
yeah.
Yeah, but
I
Pragya, more
I
than
would
that, I think the actual reasons are a little different. It's because there's nothing that's hard coded. It's it's
Yes.
it's
yeah.
soft coded, right? So you
Yeah.
can make changes to it. Yeah.
But I would just kind of double down on the fact that it's because we're built for the industry. So we have
Yes.
Yeah.
learned and we are building for the industry that we are servicing. So the industries, the way the renewable industry is headed towards right now has those complex ways of calculating KPIs and like guarantees, availabilities and stuff and so on. So it's no longer just like, and we were speaking to somebody like a week or a couple of weeks back, like how it was used to be time-based availabilities. Now it's energy per based on like certain period and stuff and very specific numbers. So it's for the industry and it's built, I would say, by the industry because we're constantly speaking to our customers, understanding what do they need and how can we build better for them and how because as I said, asset performance management is a tough job because it's so much to manage, but we're trying our best to build a product which helps you find what you should focus most on and help you solve that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great.
That's exactly
Brian, would you like to add something?
or
Yeah, I mean, I think the future of contract power is all automation. I think that right now the AI integration into contracts is cool and is useful and applicable and very germane to this period. I think the next step of where we're going is you're going to upload your contract and just everything is going to be done for you. And I don't think that's in the future. I feel like that's in the near term, like in the next probably like couple of months, where you upload your contract and we're going to extract all of your compliance items and track them for you to essentially have an automatic calendar as opposed to like this very arduous current process where either you're manually doing it or there's other ways. But that with contract power, like what we're trying to get to is put my contract in and now everything is scheduled for me. And I think that's in the near term. So I'm very excited about that. And with Kanaya's help and his product management, and we're also working with Kanaya, and he's bringing us towards that. So that's I think where we're going. Thanks.
No, that's the future as well because it feels to me like at least because the way the models are AI and the models and everything is kind of being hyped up, the way the application is almost becoming like like frictionless. I would say I wouldn't say hand like no touch because you still want to look at stuff, but then it's almost as frictionless as it's you it is it needs to be intelligent enough for you to only come in when it feels that it needs your help. Most of the structure and the data, the architecture, the guardrails need to be set across so that it feels frictionless for anybody to use it, and it feels yes, this is actually saving me for like I would say over a month if I'm able to save somebody 30 hours just because of this intelligence. I think the product does the work because it's getting harder because otherwise it's so much like manual work, so much reading, so much redlining, and so on and so forth. We are at a point in 2026, I would say, where AI is. This needs to save us time.
right. So true. Is that a good place to sign off, Pragya? Or do we have more questions?
No, we don't have any more questions. We have answered them live. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us from all parts of the world. We will be back with another webinar very soon. That would be announced on LinkedIn. If you want to mark up your calendars, it's on 27th of May. But yes, we will be announcing on LinkedIn as well. So yeah, Thank you. Thanks a lot for joining, Brian. Thanks, Kiri. Thanks, Kanaya. Take care.
Thanks for
Bye.
having me. I
Thanks
appreciate
all.
it.
Thank you. Thanks a
Thanks.
Bye bye.
lot.
Have a nice one. Bye.